Captain Alina Vasquez stood on the bridge of the TSS Resolute and watched the stars through the main viewport. Her ship was small compared to the massive warships that patrolled the border zones. The Resolute was a rescue vessel, built for speed and equipped with medical bays instead of weapons. It carried only basic defensive systems, and a crew of 47 humans who had chosen to save lives rather than take them. The war between Earth and the Vithrani Empire had lasted for 3 years now. Both sides had lost many ships and many lives. The Vithrani were tall beings with gray skin and 4 arms. They had started the war when they attacked human colonies near the Outer Rim. Now both species fought across dozens of star systems with no end in sight. Alina had joined the Terran Rescue Corps because she believed in helping people. She had been a doctor before she became a captain. Her crew called her strict but fair. She demanded the best from everyone, including herself. The communication officer, a young man named Marcus Chen, looked up from his console. His face showed worry. "Captain, we are picking up a distress signal." Alina turned from the viewport. "Show me the location." A holographic map appeared in the center of the bridge. A red dot blinked near a planet called Vetha Prime. Alina felt her stomach tighten. Vetha Prime was deep inside enemy territory. It was the homeworld of the Vithrani people. "The signal is coming from their third moon," Marcus said. "It appears to be a civilian transport. They have lost engine power and are falling toward the moon's surface." Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka, the ship's first officer, stood beside Alina. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a quick mind. "Captain, that is enemy space. If we go there, we will be attacked." Alina knew this was true. The Terran Rescue Corps was supposed to help anyone in need, regardless of which side they belonged to. But this rule was hard to follow during a war. Many rescue ships had been destroyed when they tried to help enemy civilians. The Vithrani did not trust humans, and humans did not trust the Vithrani. "How many people are on that transport?" Alina asked. Marcus worked at his console for a moment. "The signal includes passenger data. There are 412 civilians, mostly families traveling between colonies. The message says they have many children aboard." Alina closed her eyes. 412 lives, children. She thought about her own daughter back on Earth. Little Sophia was only 7 years old. Alina had not seen her in 8 months. "How long until they crash?" she asked. "At their current rate of descent, approximately 3 hours, Marcus replied. Yuki stepped closer and spoke quietly. "Captain, this could be a trap. The Vithrani might be using a fake distress call to lure our ships into their space." "That is possible," Alina agreed. "But if it is real and we do nothing, 400 people will die." The bridge was silent. Every crew member waited for her decision. Alina looked at the faces around her. These people trusted her with their lives. She had no right to risk them without their consent. "I need to speak honestly with all of you," she said. "This mission is extremely dangerous. We would be entering the heart of enemy territory to rescue civilians from a species that wants us dead. There is a good chance we will not come back. I cannot order you to do this. I can only ask." Chief Engineer Omar Hassan spoke first. He was a large man with gentle hands, someone who treated machines like living things. "Captain, my grandfather was rescued from a sinking ship when he was a boy. The people who saved him did not ask what country he was from. They just helped. I think we should do the same." Dr. Sarah Kim, the head of the medical team, nodded. "I became a doctor to save lives. All lives. I vote yes." One by one, the crew members spoke. Some expressed fear, some expressed doubt. But in the end, every single person agreed to attempt the rescue. Alina felt proud of them all. "Set course for Vetha Prime's third moon," she ordered. "Maximum speed, and prepare all rescue equipment." The Resolute turned and accelerated into hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines of light as the ship traveled faster than anything in nature should move. Alina knew they had a long journey ahead. She also knew that when they arrived, they would face the full might of the Vithrani defense fleet. During the journey, Alina gathered her senior officers in the conference room. They needed a plan that might keep them alive. "The Vithrani have 3 warship patrols around Vetha Prime," Yuki reported. "Each patrol consists of 4 destroyers and 1 cruiser. Their weapons are more powerful than ours. Our shields can withstand maybe 2 or 3 direct hits before failing." "We are not here to fight," Alina reminded them. "We are here to rescue." "The Vithrani may not give us that choice," Omar said. "Their military sees all human ships as targets." Alina studied the map on the table. The third moon was a cold, rocky world with thin atmosphere. If the transport crashed there, most of the passengers would die from impact. Those who survived the crash would freeze within hours. We need to reach the transport before it hits the surface, Alina said. Can we match their descent speed and transfer passengers directly? Yuki calculated quickly. It would be extremely difficult. Their ship is falling at an irregular angle. We would need perfect precision to align our airlocks. Then we will need perfect precision, Alina said. Dr. Kim, how many people can we take aboard at once? Our medical bays and cargo holds can accommodate perhaps 200, Sarah replied. We would need to make multiple trips. We may not have time for multiple trips, Alina said. We will have to find a way. The meeting continued for hours. They discussed every possibility and every danger. By the time they finished, Alina felt exhausted but determined. Her crew had a plan. It was risky and complicated, but it was the best they could do. As the Resolute approached Vetha Prime system, Alina returned to the bridge. The alarms began to sound almost immediately. V-Thrani patrol detected, Marcus announced. They have seen us. They are moving to intercept. Alina took a deep breath. Open a communication channel, all frequencies. Channel open, Captain. Alina spoke clearly into the microphone. This is Captain Alina Vasquez of the Terran rescue ship Resolute. We are responding to a civilian distress call from your third moon. We are not here to fight. We are here to help. Please allow us to pass. For a long moment there was only silence. Then a harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking in the clicking language of the V-Thrani. The translator system converted it to English. Human vessel, you have entered V-Thrani sovereign space. You will be destroyed. The enemy ships accelerated toward them. Alina saw their weapons powering up on the tactical display. She had known this might happen. She had hoped for better. All crew to emergency stations, she ordered. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, but do not fire weapons. We did not come here to start a bigger war. The first enemy shot streaked through space toward the Resolute. Alina gripped the arms of her command chair and watched them come. She could only hope that her ship was fast enough to survive. The Resolute shook violently as the enemy fire struck its shields. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Alina held tightly to her chair while her crew worked desperately at their stations. The ship twisted and turned, trying to avoid the worst of the attacks. Shields at 70%, Omar reported from the engineering console. They are hitting us hard, Captain. Keep us moving, Alina ordered. Do not let them get a clean shot. Yuki's hands flew across the navigation controls. She was the best pilot Alina had ever seen. The Resolute danced between the enemy fire, moving in patterns that were almost impossible to predict. But there were too many V-Thrani ships and too many weapons pointed at them. Captain, Marcus called out, another patrol is coming from the planet's side. We will be surrounded in 4 minutes. Alina's mind raced through their options. They could not fight back. Their few weapons would barely scratch the V-Thrani warships. They could not run. The enemy was faster in normal space. Their only advantage was the crew's determination to complete their mission. How far to the transport? She asked. 12 minutes at current speed, Yuki replied. But we will not survive 12 more minutes of this. The ship shook again. A console near the back of the bridge exploded in sparks. 2 crew members fell to the floor. Dr. Kim rushed to help them while the others continued their work. Alina made a decision. Send another message, same channel as before. Marcus nodded and opened the channel. Alina spoke again, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. V-Thrani forces, we understand you see us as enemies, but there are 400 of your people dying on that moon. Many of them are children. We did not cross into your space to fight. We came to save your families. Please, let us help. The enemy ships did not stop firing, but Alina noticed something strange. The shots were becoming less accurate. They were still dangerous, still damaging the shields, but they were missing more often than before. Shields at 45%, Omar said. We cannot take much more. Then a new voice came through the communication system. It was different from the first V-Thrani voice. This one was older, with a tone of authority. Human Captain, this is Fleet Commander Kethari of the V-Thrani 3rd Defense Force. Your words are strange to us. In our history, humans have only brought death. Why should we believe you want to help? Alina stood up from her chair. She walked closer to the communication panel, as if she could speak more directly to the enemy commander. Because I am a mother, she said. Because somewhere on that transport, there are V-Thrani mothers holding their children, praying for someone to save them. I cannot ignore that, even if you are my enemy. There was a long pause. The enemy ships continued their attack, but the shots grew even less accurate. Alina wondered if some of the Vithrani gunners were deliberately missing. "You are either the bravest human I have encountered," Fleet Commander Cathari said, "or the most foolish, perhaps both." "Perhaps," Alina agreed. "But right now I need to reach that transport. Will you let me pass?" Another pause. Alina could hear muffled sounds in the background, Vithrani officers arguing among themselves. Then Cathari spoke again. "I cannot order my ships to stop attacking. My superiors would have me executed for treason, but I can order them to focus their fire on a different target. There is a small asteroid nearby. My gunners might accidentally aim at it instead of your ship. Do you understand?" Alina felt a wave of relief wash over her. "I understand, Fleet Commander, thank you." "Do not thank me, human. If you fail to rescue those civilians, I will destroy your ship myself. If you succeed, you will face new dangers. Many in my government would rather let those people die than accept help from humans." "I understand that too," Alina said, "but I am still going to try." The communication ended. Moments later, the enemy fire shifted away from the Resolute. The Vithrani ships were now shooting at empty space, pretending to target the human rescue ship while deliberately missing. "Shields holding at 40%, Omar said with wonder in his voice. "They stopped hitting us." "Not for long," Alina warned. "The other patrol is still coming. Move fast, Yuki, get us to that transport." The Resolute accelerated toward the falling transport ship. Alina could see it now on the visual display. It was a large civilian vessel, shaped like a long cylinder with passenger sections visible through rows of windows. Smoke and fire trailed from the damaged engines at the back. "Their descent is getting faster," Marcus reported. "They will hit the surface in 90 minutes. "Can you contact them?" Alina asked. Marcus worked at his console. "I am trying. Their communication system seems damaged. Wait, I am getting through." A new voice filled the bridge. It was high and frightened, speaking Vithrani that the translator quickly converted. "Please, please help us. Our engines failed. We are falling. There are children here. Please, someone help us." Alina took the communication herself. "This is the Terran rescue ship Resolute. We are coming to help you. What is your situation?" The Vithrani voice became confused. "Terran, you are humans. No, that cannot be right. Humans are our enemy. You would not help us." "We are here anyway," Alina said. "How many people are aboard? How many are injured?" There was a moment of shocked silence. Then the voice returned, steadier now. "I am passenger coordinator Methana. We have 412 passengers. 83 are children. We have 32 crew members. Many were hurt when the engines exploded. Our medical supplies are limited." "Prepare your people to be transferred to our ship," Alina ordered. "We will come alongside you and connect airlocks. It will be dangerous, but we can do this." "I do not understand," Methana said. "Why are you helping us? Your people and mine are at war. You have no reason to risk your lives for Vithrani civilians." Alina thought carefully before answering. "My species has a saying. It goes like this: the measure of a civilization is how it treats those who cannot defend themselves. Your people on that ship cannot defend themselves. It does not matter that we are enemies. Right now, you need help and I can give it." There was another pause. When Methana spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. "I have never met a human before. I was taught that your species was cruel and violent, but you do not sound cruel to me." "War makes everyone seem cruel," Alina replied. "But most people, human or Vithrani, just want to live in peace with their families. Today, let us focus on keeping your families alive." The Resolute came alongside the falling transport. Up close, Alina could see how badly damaged it was. The hull had cracks in several places. Emergency seals were the only thing keeping the passengers alive. "Omar, can you stabilize their descent?" Alina asked. "I can try," the engineer replied. "If I extend our tractor beams and share our engine power, we might slow them down, but it will put huge stress on our systems." "Do it." Blue beams of energy reached out from the Resolute and attached to the transport. The rescue ship's engines roared with effort. Slowly, very slowly, the transport's fall began to slow. "It is working," Omar reported. "But I cannot hold this for long. We need to transfer those passengers quickly." Alina turned to Yuki. "Align us with their main airlock, as close as possible." Moving into position now. The two ships came together in the void of space. The rescue teams assembled at the airlock, led by Dr. Kim. They carried medical supplies and emergency equipment. They were ready to face whatever awaited them on the enemy transport. "Airlock connected," Marcus announced. "Seal is good. We can begin transfer." Alina left the bridge and hurried to the airlock herself. She wanted to be there when the first Vithrani passengers came aboard. She wanted them to see that a human was welcoming them. The airlock door opened. On the other side stood a group of Vithrani civilians. They were tall, gray-skinned, with 4 arms each. Their large, dark eyes showed fear and confusion. At the front was a female Vithrani wearing the uniform of a ship coordinator. This had to be Methana. Alina stepped forward. "Welcome aboard the Resolute. Please follow my people. They will take you to safety." Methana stared at her. The Vithrani's 4 arms trembled slightly. "You are the captain. You are really doing this." "Yes," Alina said simply. "Now please hurry. We do not have much time." The first Vithrani passengers began to cross into the human ship. They moved slowly, uncertain. Some of the children hid behind their parents, frightened of the strange aliens who were trying to save them. But the rescue crew smiled and spoke gently. Dr. Kim's medical team quickly identified those who were injured and guided them toward treatment. Alina watched the stream of refugees flow past her. Each face was a life saved. Each child was someone's son or daughter who would go home again. This was why she had joined the rescue corps. This was why she had risked everything. Then the alarms began to sound again. "Captain, to the bridge," Marcus's voice called over the speakers. "We have a problem." Alina ran back to the bridge. Through the viewport, she could see new ships approaching. These were not patrol vessels. These were heavy cruisers with the markings of the Vithrani High Command. "They are demanding we surrender," Marcus said. "They say we have kidnapped Vithrani citizens and they will destroy us unless we release them." Alina felt cold fear grip her heart. They had come so far. They had taken such risks. And now, when rescue was almost complete, the enemy command was going to kill them all. "How many passengers have we transferred?" she asked. "About 150, Yuki reported. Less than half." Alina looked at the approaching warships. Their weapons were already charging. In minutes, they would open fire. There would be no missing this time. No secret mercy from a sympathetic commander. She had to make a choice. Try to run with the passengers they had already rescued, leaving the rest to die. Or stay and continue the rescue, hoping for a miracle. Alina squared her shoulders. She had not come this far to abandon people in need. "Continue the transfer," she ordered. "Get everyone off that transport." "Captain," Yuki said quietly, "we will not survive." "Then we will die doing what is right," Alina replied. "Keep working." The crew obeyed without further argument. More Vithrani passengers crossed into the Resolute. More lives were saved with each passing minute. The enemy warships drew closer. Their weapons reached full power. Alina stood on the bridge and watched death approach. She thought of her daughter Sophia. She hoped someone would tell the little girl that her mother died helping people. She hoped Sophia would understand. Then something unexpected happened. The first enemy warship fired, but not at the Resolute. It fired at the other enemy ships. Alina watched in shock as Vithrani began fighting Vithrani. "What is happening?" she demanded. Marcus was frantically checking his console. "I am receiving new transmissions. It seems there is a conflict within their command structure. Some officers want to destroy us. Others are defending us." The communication system came alive with Fleet Commander Cathari's voice. "Human Captain, you have put me in an impossible situation. My honor as a warrior says I must destroy you for violating our space. But my honor as a father says I cannot let you die for saving children. Today, it seems the father wins." Cathari's ships had turned against the high command cruisers. It was not a fair fight. The heavy cruisers were much more powerful, but the distraction gave Alina and her crew precious minutes. "Speed up the transfer," Alina ordered. "We need everyone off that transport right now." The rescue teams worked faster than they ever had before. Vithrani passengers poured onto the Resolute, filling every available space. The cargo holds became shelters. The hallways became paths for refugees. Dr. Kim's medical teams treated injuries while still moving patients from one ship to the other. Meanwhile, the battle raged around them. Cathari's patrol ships took heavy damage. One by one, they fell silent, destroyed by the superior firepower of the high command vessels. But each sacrifice bought more time for the rescue. Alina watched Cathari's flagship take a direct hit. Fire erupted from its hull. The ship began to break apart. "Fleet Commander," she called through the communication channel, "can you hear me? Can you evacuate?" There was only static in response. Then faintly, Cathari's voice returned. "I am still here, human, but not for long. My ship is dying. It was an honor to fight alongside you, even briefly. Do not waste the time I have bought." "I will not," Alina promised, "and I will make sure everyone knows what you did today." "That is unnecessary," Cathari said. "I did what was right, that is enough." The communication ended. Seconds later, Cathari's flagship exploded in a ball of flame. Alina bowed her head in respect for the enemy commander who had become an ally. "Transfer complete," Yuki announced. "All passengers are aboard. Detach from the transport, get us out of here." The Resolute pulled away from the empty transport ship. Its engines fired at full power, pushing toward the edge of Vithrani space. Behind them, the high command cruisers tried to follow, but they were damaged from the battle with Cathari's ships. They could not catch up. "We are reaching the border," Marcus reported. "Terran patrol ships are coming to meet us." Alina finally allowed herself to breathe. They had done it. Against all odds, they had rescued 444 Vithrani civilians from certain death. They had lost nothing except a small piece of their shields and the normal wear on their engines. But the cost to others had been high. Fleet Commander and his brave crew had given their lives to protect the rescue. Alina knew she would never forget their sacrifice. The Resolute crossed into Terran space. The enemy ship stopped at the border, unwilling to follow into human territory. The rescue was complete. In the cargo holds and medical bays of the Resolute, Vithrani families hugged each other and cried with relief. Children who had been terrified now played in the hallways, watched over by human crew members who could not speak their language but could still smile and offer comfort. Alina walked through the ship, checking on the refugees. Everywhere she went, Vithrani passengers looked at her with wonder and gratitude. Many tried to thank her in their clicking language. Some reached out to touch her arm or hand, as if confirming she was real. Methana found Alina near the main medical bay. The passenger coordinator's large eyes were wet with tears. "Captain Vasquez," she said through the translator, "I do not have words to express what you have done. You saved our lives, you saved our children, and you did this knowing we are your enemies." "You are not my enemies," Alina replied. "Your government is my enemy, your military is my enemy, but you are just people who needed help." Methana was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Perhaps the war between our species is not as simple as I believed. Perhaps there is hope for peace." "I hope so too," Alina said. "I am tired of war. I think most people on both sides are tired of it." The Resolute continued toward Earth. Along the way, news of the rescue spread. Terran media reported it as a heroic act. Vithrani media called it an elaborate trick, a propaganda tool, a lie. But the survivors knew the truth and they talked about it. They told everyone what Captain Vasquez and her crew had done. When the Resolute finally reached Earth, a huge crowd gathered at the spaceport. Humans and the few Vithrani diplomats on the planet stood together, waiting to see the rescue ship arrive. Cameras recorded everything for the entire galaxy to see. Alina stepped off her ship and faced the crowd. She was tired. She wanted nothing more than to see her daughter and sleep for a week, but she knew this moment was important. "What we did was not special," she said to the reporters. "We saw people in danger and we helped them. That is what decent beings do. Human or Vithrani, we all have the capacity for compassion. I hope this mission shows that peace is possible if we choose it." Somewhere in the crowd, a little girl broke through the barriers and ran toward Alina. It was Sophia. Alina caught her daughter in her arms and held her tight, tears streaming down her face. Around them, the galaxy watched, and many who watched felt something change inside them. Perhaps war was not the only answer. Perhaps enemies could become friends. Perhaps hope was not as foolish as it sometimes seemed. The rescue of the Vithrani civilians became known as the impossible mission. It changed the course of the war in ways no one expected. But that is a story for another day. What matters is that 444 people lived because one human captain believed that saving lives was more important than winning battles. And in the end, that belief proved true. The weeks after the rescue were complicated. Alina expected some backlash from the Terran military command, and she was right. Many generals and admirals were angry that she had entered enemy space without permission. They called her actions reckless and dangerous. They argued that she had risked starting a larger conflict. But the public response made it impossible to punish her. People across Earth and all the human colonies praised Captain Vasquez as a hero. They sent millions of messages to the government, demanding she be honored rather than court-martialed. Politicians who had supported the war suddenly found themselves defending the rescue mission to save their own careers. The Vithrani refugees were taken to a neutral space station near the border. Negotiations began to return them safely to their homeworld. Alina was not part of these talks, but she followed them closely. She wanted to know that the people she had saved would make it home. Meanwhile, something strange was happening among the Vithrani themselves. The story of the rescue spread through their society, despite the government's attempts to suppress it. Survivors talked to their families. Families talked to friends. Soon millions of Vithrani knew that a human captain had risked everything to save their people. For a species that had been taught to hate and fear humans, this was confusing. The propaganda said humans were monsters who killed without mercy. But here was proof that at least one human had shown extraordinary mercy. How could both things be true? Alina received an unexpected message 3 weeks after the rescue. It came through diplomatic channels and carried the seal of the Vithrani civilian government. She opened it with curiosity. Captain Alina Vasquez, the message read in translated Vithrani. We write to express the gratitude of the Vithrani people for your actions in rescuing our citizens from the transport vessel Hope of Tomorrow. Your bravery and compassion in the face of danger has moved many hearts in our nation. We wish you to know that not all Vithrani see humans as enemies. Some of us dream of peace. Perhaps your actions have brought that dream closer to reality. The message was unsigned, but Alina suspected it came from a group of Vithrani who opposed the war. She had heard rumors of such groups, citizens and low-level officials who believed the conflict was wasteful and wrong. Now they were reaching out to her. She did not know how to respond, so she simply kept the message private. It would be dangerous for whoever had sent it if the Vithrani military discovered their communication with a human. A month after the rescue, Alina was called to meet with the Terran Council, the governing body of all human-controlled space. She traveled to Geneva on Earth, where the council held its sessions. She expected a formal hearing about her actions. She prepared herself for difficult questions. The council chamber was vast and intimidating. Hundreds of representatives sat in curved rows, looking down at the speaking floor. Alina stood alone in the center, feeling small beneath their gaze. Council President Wu spoke first. Captain Vasquez, you have created quite a situation for us. Some members of this council believe you should be imprisoned for endangering Terran security. Others believe you should receive our highest honors for humanitarian service. Before we decide, we want to hear from you directly. Why did you do it? Alina had thought carefully about how to answer this question. She had prepared speeches about duty and compassion and the nature of war. But when the moment came, she threw away all her preparation and spoke from the heart. I did it because I saw people dying and I could save them, she said. That is the simple truth. Everything else, the politics and the strategy and the consequences, all of that came later. In the moment, there were children falling toward a frozen moon, and I had a ship that could reach them. What else could I have done? A representative from Mars spoke up. You could have obeyed regulations and stayed in Terran space. You could have avoided risking your crew and your ship on an enemy species that would not do the same for us. Perhaps, Alina admitted. But I would have spent the rest of my life knowing I let 400 people die. I would have looked at myself in the mirror and seen a coward. My crew agreed with that choice. We all decided together that the risk was worth taking. Another representative, this one from the outer colonies, asked, did you consider that the Vithrani might use this incident to gain some advantage? That they might claim you kidnapped their citizens or attacked their ships? They did claim those things, Alina replied. Their government called it an act of aggression, but their people know the truth. Every survivor knows that we saved them. That knowledge is spreading through Vithrani society right now. It is harder to hate your enemy when your enemy has saved your child's life. The council debated for hours. Alina waited patiently through it all. Finally, President Wu called for silence. We have reached a decision, he announced. Captain Vasquez, you violated regulations and entered hostile space without authorization. For this, you will receive an official reprimand on your record. However, you also demonstrated extraordinary courage and upheld the best values of Terran civilization. For this, you will receive the Medal of Humanitarian Service, our highest honor for peacetime actions. Alina felt relief wash over her. A reprimand was nothing. The medal meant nothing to her either. What mattered was that she was not being punished for doing the right thing. But President Wu was not finished. Furthermore, he continued, your actions have opened a door that we did not expect. We have received a private communication from a faction within the Vithrani government. They are using the rescue as leverage to push for peace negotiations. They say that if humans can show such compassion, perhaps war is not the only answer. Alina's heart began to beat faster. You mean peace might actually be possible? We do not know yet, President Wu admitted. The situation is delicate. The Vithrani military still controls most of their government and they want the war to continue. But there are cracks forming in their support. Your rescue mission created those cracks. For the first time since the war began, there is real hope for negotiations." The council session ended with applause. Alina left the chamber feeling lighter than she had in years. She had not expected her actions to have such far-reaching effects. She had simply done what seemed right at the time. Back on Earth, Alina finally got the rest she had been craving. She spent time with Sophia, taking her to parks and museums, and simply enjoying being a mother again. She tried not to think about the war or the politics. She tried to remember what normal life felt like. But she could not escape completely. Journalists wanted interviews. Politicians wanted meetings. Vithrani refugees from the transport sent messages of thanks. The galaxy refused to let Alina Vasquez fade back into obscurity. One evening, as Alina was putting Sophia to bed, her daughter asked a question that caught her off guard. "Mama, are the Vithrani bad people?" Alina sat on the edge of the bed and thought carefully. "No, sweetheart, they are not bad people. They are just different from us. And sometimes when people are different, they become afraid of each other. Fear can make people do bad things." "But you saved them," Sophia said. "You saved the Vithrani children even though they are different." "I did. Does that mean the war will stop?" Alina wished she could say yes with certainty, but she did not want to lie to her daughter. "I do not know if the war will stop, but I hope so. I think that when people are kind to each other, it becomes harder to fight. Maybe my kindness will spread and make more kindness. Maybe eventually there will be enough kindness that we do not need to fight anymore." Sophia seemed satisfied with this answer. She closed her eyes and drifted off to sleep. Alina watched her for a long moment, then quietly left the room. That night, Alina dreamed of Fleet Commander Cathari. In the dream, the Vithrani officer was standing on the bridge of his ship, watching the battle rage around him. He turned to Alina and spoke in perfect English, though in reality he had only spoken Vithrani. "You must continue," he said. "What we started together must not end here. There are those on both sides who want peace. Find them, help them. Do not let my sacrifice be meaningless." Alina woke with tears on her cheeks. She did not believe in prophetic dreams, but she could not shake the feeling that Cathari's message was important. She had been planning to return to her normal duties with the Rescue Corps, saving lives without regard for politics. But perhaps that was not enough. Perhaps she needed to do more. 3 months after the rescue, Alina received an unusual invitation. The neutral space station, where the Vithrani refugees had been housed, was hosting a memorial ceremony for Fleet Commander and his crew. The families of the survivors had organized it. They wanted to honor the Vithrani warriors who had died protecting them and the human rescue ship. The invitation came from Methana, who had apparently become a leader among the refugee community. "Captain Vasquez," she wrote, "your presence at this ceremony would mean more than you know. You and Commander Cathari stood together in defense of innocent lives. You should stand together in memory as well." Alina requested permission from the Terran Council to attend. They were hesitant at first. The memorial would take place in neutral space, but it would be attended by many Vithrani, including some officials from their government. There were security concerns. But President Wu eventually approved the request. "This could be an opportunity," he told Alina privately. "The Vithrani faction that wants peace will be watching closely. Show them that humans are serious about reconciliation." Alina traveled to the neutral station aboard a small diplomatic shuttle. She was not in uniform. This was not an official military event. She wore simple civilian clothes and brought no weapons or guards. She wanted the Vithrani to see her as a person, not as a representative of their enemy. The station was a massive structure floating between the territories of the two species. It had been built decades ago as a trading post, before the war made such trade impossible. Now it served as neutral ground for diplomatic discussions and refugee processing. When Alina arrived, she was surprised by the reception. Hundreds of Vithrani civilians lined the corridors, watching her pass. Some of them reached out to touch her arm or hand, just as the refugees had done on the Resolute. Others simply stared with their large, dark eyes, trying to understand this strange human who had risked her life for their kind. Methana met Alina at the entrance to the memorial hall. The Vithrani coordinator looked healthier than she had on the day of the rescue. Her gray skin had more color, and her movements were confident rather than frightened. "Captain Vasquez," Methana said, "thank you for coming. This means everything to the survivors." "Thank you for inviting me," Alina replied. "I am honored to remember Commander Cathari. He was a brave officer." "He was more than brave," Methana said. "He defied his own commanders to protect you and us. In our culture, such defiance is considered shameful, but many of us now see it differently. We believe he showed true honor by following his conscience. The memorial hall was large and filled with Vithrani mourners. Elena was the only human present. She felt many eyes upon her as she walked to her seat near the front. Some of those gazes were welcoming. Others were suspicious or even hostile. Not all Vithrani appreciated a human attending their sacred ceremony. The memorial itself was beautiful and strange. Vithrani religious leaders spoke words that the translator rendered as prayers for the souls of the dead. Families of the fallen crew members shared stories about their loved ones. Images of the destroyed ships were displayed on holographic screens. When it came time to honor Cathari specifically, Methana asked Alina to speak. This had not been part of the plan, and Alina hesitated, but the expectant faces of the crowd convinced her to try. She walked to the speaking platform and looked out at the assembled Vithrani. Her heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "I did not know Fleet Commander for long," she began. "I spoke with him for only a few minutes during the rescue, but in those minutes I saw something remarkable. I saw an officer torn between duty and conscience. I saw a warrior who chose to protect the innocent rather than follow orders that would have condemned them to death." Alina paused, gathering her thoughts. "In my culture, we believe that the greatest heroes are those who sacrifice themselves for others. Commander Cathari gave his life so that children could live. He gave his life so that families could stay together. He gave his life so that enemies could become something more than enemies." She looked directly at the families of the dead crew members. "I cannot bring back your loved ones. I cannot undo the pain you feel. But I can promise you this, I will never forget what they did. I will tell their story to every human who will listen, and I will work for the day when their sacrifice leads to lasting peace between our peoples." When Alina finished speaking, there was silence. She feared she had said something wrong, had offended the Vithrani with her human words. But then, slowly, the crowd began to make a sound she had never heard before. It was a low humming that rose and fell in waves. Methana leaned close and whispered, "This is how we show deep respect. You have touched their hearts, Captain." After the ceremony, Alina was approached by a Vithrani she did not recognize. He was older than most of the others, with silver patterns on his gray skin that indicated high social status. He wore civilian clothes, but his bearing suggested military training. "Captain Vasquez," he said through the translator, "may I speak with you privately?" Elena agreed cautiously. They moved to a quiet corner of the hall, away from the other mourners. "My name is Vilvari," the old Vithrani said. "I am a member of the Reconciliation Council, a group of Vithrani citizens who oppose the war. We have been watching you closely since the rescue." "I have heard rumors of your group," Elena admitted. "I am glad you exist." "We have existed for years, but we have never had much influence," Vilvari explained. "The military controls our government. They dismiss us as weak and foolish. But your actions have changed things. Many Vithrani who supported the war are now questioning it. They ask themselves, if a human can show such compassion, why are we fighting?" Elena felt hope rise in her chest. What does this mean for peace negotiations? "The military is still strong," Vilvari warned. "They will not give up power easily. But the pressure from civilians is growing. For the first time, there is real debate in our government about ending the conflict. Your rescue mission created this opportunity." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "I am telling you this because we need your help. The Reconciliation Council wants to invite human representatives to secret talks on neutral ground. We want to explore the possibility of a peace agreement, one that both sides can accept. But our military would never approve of such talks. They must happen in secret." "You want me to carry this message to my government?" Elena guessed. "Yes, you have credibility on both sides. You have shown that humans can be trusted. If you speak for this initiative, others will listen." Elena considered the request carefully. She was a rescue ship captain, not a diplomat or politician. She had no experience with secret negotiations or interstellar treaties, but she also understood that opportunities for peace were rare and precious. "I will deliver your message," she said finally. "I cannot promise my government will agree to secret talks, but I will make sure they know about your offer." Vilvari nodded solemnly. "That is all we ask. Thank you, Captain. You may be the key to ending this war." Elena returned to Earth with new purpose. She requested a meeting with President Wu and shared everything Vilvari had told her. The president listened carefully, asking occasional questions but mostly just absorbing the information. "This is delicate," Wu said when Elena finished. "If the Vithrani military discovers these talks, they will use it as propaganda against the peace faction. They might even use it as an excuse to escalate the war." I understand the risks, Alina replied, but I believe this is our best chance for peace. The Vithrani people are starting to question the war. If we act now, while the momentum is on our side, we might achieve something lasting. Wu was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Very well, I will present this to the full council. If they approve, we will send representatives to secret talks. And Captain Vasquez, I want you to be one of those representatives. Alina was surprised. Me, I am not a diplomat. No, you are not, but you are the person the Vithrani trust. You are the symbol of human compassion that started this whole process. Without you, these talks might never happen. With you, they have a chance. It was a heavy responsibility, but Alina accepted it. She had started something with the rescue of the Vithrani transport. Now she had to see it through to the end. The council approved the secret talks 2 weeks later. A small delegation of humans, including Alina, traveled to a remote station in neutral space. There they met with members of the Vithrani Reconciliation Council, including Volvari and, to Alina's surprise, Methana. The survivors of the transport asked me to represent them, Methana explained. They believe that peace is possible, and they want their voices heard in these discussions. The talks were difficult. Both sides had grievances going back decades. The humans remembered the Vithrani attack on their colonies that had started the war. The Vithrani remembered centuries of territorial disputes that they felt the humans had ignored. Each side had lost loved ones in the conflict. Each side had reasons for anger and distrust. But slowly, painfully, progress was made. Alina found that her role was often to remind both sides of their common humanity, or rather, their common desire for peace and prosperity. When discussions became heated, she would share stories of the rescue mission, of Vithrani children playing in the halls of a human ship, of crew members who could not speak each other's language finding ways to communicate through smiles and gestures. We are not as different as we believe, she said during one particularly tense session. We both love our families. We both want our children to grow up in safety. We both mourn when we lose those we care about. These things unite us more than politics divides us. After months of secret negotiations, a framework for peace was finally agreed upon. It was not a perfect agreement. Both sides had to make compromises that were painful. The humans had to give up some territorial claims. The Vithrani had to acknowledge responsibility for starting the war. Neither side was completely happy. But both sides were ready to stop fighting. The announcement of the peace agreement shocked the galaxy. The Vithrani military tried to resist, but the civilian population had shifted too far toward peace. Massive protests erupted on Vithrani worlds, demanding an end to the conflict. The military leaders found themselves isolated and powerless. On the human side, there was celebration mixed with skepticism. Many people doubted that the peace would last. They had been taught to see the Vithrani as eternal enemies, but others embraced the hope of a new era. Alina watched the announcement from her home on Earth, with Sophia sitting beside her. The little girl did not fully understand what was happening, but she could see that her mother was crying happy tears. "Mama, is the war over?" Sophia asked. "Yes, sweetheart," Alina replied. "The war is over." "Did you do that? Did you stop the war?" Alina thought about the question. She had played a role, certainly. The rescue mission had been the spark that ignited the peace movement, but she had not acted alone. She thought of her crew, of Fleet Commander Kethari, of Methana and Volvari, and President Wu, and countless others who had worked toward this moment. "Many people stopped the war," she said finally. "I was just one of them, but I am glad I could help." In the years that followed, Alina became known throughout the galaxy as the human who had started the peace. She was uncomfortable with this title. She preferred to remember herself as a rescue ship captain who had simply done her job, but she could not escape the role that history had given her. She served as an ambassador between humans and Vithrani for several years, helping to build the new relationship between the two species. She watched as former enemies began to trade and travel and even form friendships. She saw Vithrani children playing with human children on neutral stations. She witnessed the first mixed marriages between the species. Eventually, Alina retired from public life. She returned to Earth and spent her remaining years with Sophia, who grew up to become a diplomat herself. The family legacy of building bridges between worlds continued. On the 10th anniversary of the rescue mission, a monument was dedicated on Vetha Prime. It showed Captain Alina Vasquez and Fleet Commander Kethari standing together, their hands extended in gestures of peace. The inscription read, "They chose compassion over conflict and changed the fate of two civilizations." Alina did not attend the dedication ceremony. She was too old for long space travel by then. but she watched it on the news feeds, tears streaming down her face. "We did it, Cathari," she whispered to the screen. "We actually did it." Somewhere in the vastness of space, among the stars where their ships had once fought and then cooperated, Alina liked to imagine that Cathari could hear her. She liked to believe that his sacrifice had been honored, and that his spirit was at peace. The war between humans and Vithrani was over. It had ended not with a great battle or a dramatic victory, but with a single act of compassion that had grown into something larger than anyone had expected. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that Alina had always known. Saving lives was more important than winning wars. Kindness was more powerful than hatred, and hope, even in the darkest times, was never foolish. This was the legacy of the impossible mission, and it would endure for generations to come.